is Jalen Rose.
Joe.
I'm David Jacoby. We are Jalen and Jacoby. What is it that we do?
We give the people what they want.
As the NBA gets closer to giving the people what they want, we will have many updates just like this one. It is time for the NBA Bubble Update. That's right. We have a brand new update from the bubble. This one comes courtesy of some of our colleagues, namely Windy, and he has given us some of the terms for players that will be joining the NBA bubble in Orlando. And let's take a look at those because they get kind of complicated. For one thing we learned, you cannot have a significant other or your family in the bubble for 6 to 7 weeks. Also, if you test positive, 7 to 14 days into quarantine. You see the other terms as well. Jalen, this seems pretty serious. What do you think about 6 to 7 weeks until your significant other can join you in the bubble?
This is going to be a unique time in the world based on the coronavirus, the pandemic, and us being forced to quarantine. Now, when it's time to go back to work, for you to be in the bubble for 6 to 7 weeks, people like you with a million kids would probably feel like that's a reason for celebration. But for the single guys to be there 6 or 7 weeks, that's going to be an issue, Jacoby.
Well, it's 6 to 7 weeks before. It's 6 to 7 weeks before you can even have your significant other join you. So this is just being alone for 6 to 7 weeks before your family can then re-enter the bubble with you.
Well, you're not alone. You're with your teammates. It's not like it's in an individual sport. But here's also what I want to make sure that I say. This is going to be a unique sacrifice that seems like punishment once you got a whooping and then you still can't go outside and you still can't use the phone. But you get to go to school. That's kind of what this is going to be like. But you got to get your check, and you get a chance to play the game that you love. So this is a unique circumstance, and I think the NBA will find a way to get through it.
Well, there is one concession that the NBA is allowing the players in that bubble, and that is this, Jalen Rose. The NBA will be testing for performance-enhancing drugs, but no recreational drug testing in the bubble. No recreational drug testing in the bubble. What does that tell you about the bubble experience?
We got to eliminate the cameras. No TMZ, because everybody going to be from the room to the bar to the pool and rinse and repeat, and there's going to be a lot of smoke in the air. It's going to be a lot of smoke in the air.
The NBA bubble might have a lot more to do with bongs than it has to do with keeping the quarantine inside the bubble once you see that. Well, Jalen, not only is this a global pandemic, we also have national unrest in the fight for social justice. And Dabo Swinney came under some fire because one of his head coaches uses the N-word when coaching players. And he explained why he didn't fire him at the time. Let's listen to Coach Swinney.
And Coach Pierman was correcting DJ. He didn't do the right thing. And I think DJ or another player was talking to DJ, or DJ was yelling at the player. And DJ, just kind of, said something he probably shouldn't have said. And he said, I blocked the wrong effing N-word. And Coach Pierman, thought he was saying it to him, and he's mad, and he reacted, and he basically, in correcting him, repeated the phrase. And he said, we don't say we blocked the wrong effing N-word. And he repeated it. And he shouldn't have done that. There's no excuse for even saying that. It doesn't matter what the context is. But there is a big difference. He did not call someone an N-word.
Interesting. What do you think about Dabo's explanation?
Dear white people, and I know you understand this, David Jacoby. Dear white people, I have to tell you something. Whether it's a job interview, whether we're in a classroom, whether you're listening to rap music, you might even be at a concert. In particular, when you're in the presence of Black people, you're not allowed to do two things. One, tell us and legislate to us how to use the word. And number two, you should not be using it. If you want to practice singing a rap song in the shower at home when nobody's around, that's totally up to you. If you want to mumble it when you're at a concert, when you think it's only white people around, that's up to you. But as an adult that's getting paid, and Dabo, you're the leader of men, and this is your student athlete, that term should not be used by one of your coaches. He should have got disciplined for that.
I mean, I agree with Dabo to a certain point. There is context that is important. There are sort of different levels to using that word, but using that word alone is wrong and does deserve discipline. Like, it's just a fact. And also, I want to disagree with you about one thing. If you're a white person and you're alone in the shower, don't say it then either. Just build good habits. Just build good habits. Moving on, something else that has to do with Clemson and other colleges around our nation that is coming into the light in this unrest is sort of some of the iconography and some of the names that are used on campus. And most recently, Deshaun Watson and DeAndre Hopkins have pointed out that Clemson uses Calhoun, a gentleman who was pro-slavery and was once a vice president of this nation before the Civil War. And we also have DK Metcalf, who's asking for a statue to be taken down at Ole Miss. And there are others voicing some of their feelings about the heritage that is expressed through some of the iconography on their campuses. Do you think that this movement can address that and make some real change moving forward?
I believe so. Just think about it like this. We're in an information age. That should make you wiser. That should now be the catalyst to your thinking and your decision making. I'll do something for you in layman's terms. A couple of different teams that play in the nation's capital. One used to be the Bullets. Realized that at some point with the crime that was happening in Washington, D.C. and throughout our country, that probably shouldn't have been the name of our team. So they changed it to the Wizards. Now look at the football team. They have an offensive name, but they haven't changed it. That's the difference, Jacoby. We have the information now. So do these players. And yes, we're allowed to be on the field and catch touchdowns and throw touchdowns and perform. But what about the statue of somebody that was a slave owner that I have to walk past with my books on a college campus and ignore? So now that we have that information, it's time to institute change. I'm glad to see these athletes using their voices.
And I think that is important. We talk about athletes and their role and using their voices on this show a lot. And something like this is a direct connection to change that they want to see happen. And I think that's what's important during this movement and during this unrest and during this focus on our racial history and our racial modern current state is that we need some change. We need police reform, and we need to change the way police are funded. We need to change corporate hiring practice and get diversity through all ranks of not just corporate structure, but all jobs. Another thing is some of this iconography and some of these people from our American history that are celebrated with statues, with buildings named after them, and things of that nature. We need to readdress what that means to our whole society as a cross-section. Should it have come to this to look at it? Probably not. But now that while we are here, I think these are some real things that we need to see changed in our society. And I think that an athlete does have a role in stepping up and saying something to make that happen. But I really want to ask you a question. In your opinion, do you really think that these changes are going to happen on these campuses?
I believe they're going to happen. And here's why. And you can take what I said about Dabo with a grain of salt. But you know who's going to be paying attention? Parents and high school players. And they're going to start now after this awakening, realize, am I just an athlete on a large campus that's a money-making cow to promote myself? Maybe I should start looking at other options. And you're going to see that happen. We talked about that on this show. There's going to be an NBA, there's going to be a high school prospect in basketball that potentially goes to an HBCU. And you know what? His mom did too. So he's raised with that level of social conscience. And that's what I would like to see happen throughout society. Continue to lift one another.
And now it is time for News That Matters. Well, Dana White was on First Take and he announced the location of Fight Island. Jalen, Fight Island will be in Abu Dhabi. Interesting. Jalen, NBA bubble in Orlando, Fight Island in Abu Dhabi. Which one are you picking?
NBA by slam dunk. I am not trying to take no long flight with a mask and a shield where I can't eat, drink, or sleep. Number one. Number two, to be on an island where somebody else might catch it and or something may happen in the country where I get stuck on that island. I'm not going to be able to do it. And then the other thing, when you go to that island, that means you're not taking your family. I mean, you're probably not going to have your friends. You're not going to have your loved ones. No, I'm not going to be able to do it. Keep me on U.S. soil. Take me to Florida. Take me to Disney, something that's familiar. What are your thoughts?
My thoughts are Dalvin Cook deserves to be paid, and I will tell you why right after this. We're back in 2 minutes. Welcome back to Jalen and Jacoby. Jalen, we engineered an entire segment where you decide what we discuss. It is called Keep It Moving. So, if you would like to discuss the topic, say hit the brakes. If not, me and Method Man jump in the minivan and keep it moving. First up, Dalvin Cook wants more money. Keep it moving or hit the brakes. Dalvin Cook says he will not participate in any team activities until he gets a reasonable contract. Jalen, will he get paid?
I'm going to throw another name out there to consider in a conversation like this. Alvin Kamara, both of those elite type backs haven't gotten their big deals just yet because they're playing on rookie versions. Both have shown to be the bell cows for their team. Dalvin, obviously more physical, more 3-down-ish. But Kamara proved that he can be as such, especially once they lost Mark Ingram. He didn't have a great year last year. Both of them guys have dealt with some injuries. Dalvin Cook has dealt with injuries more. But here's the difference. Alvin Kamara is on a team that is pass happy. Dalvin Cook is on a team that's run happy. They need to find a way to pay him his bread because they already got the discount, just like Dallas did with Dak Prescott.
That's a good point. Next, Carlos Hyde has some strong words for the National Football League. Keep moving or hit the brakes.
Hit the brakes. Ohio State Buckeye, I want to hear what he got to say.
Let's listen to Carlos Hyde.
I think the NFL gets started by signing Cap back. I think if they sign Cap back, that'll show that they really trying to move in a different direction. Cap was making a statement 4 years ago about what's going on in today's world, and the NFL didn't bother to listen to him then. So I think they should start by doing that.
I'm going to take it even further. You don't even have to sign him to a deal. Invite him to a camp. Give him a shot to earn a deal. He hasn't even gotten that yet. Do you think the NFL is going to sign Cap?
How about do a sincere video? Here's PR 101. And duplicate the one that the 12 or 14 players did NFL. And don't just sit Roger Goodell in front of a camera reading a teleprompter like Dabo did when he was reading down at the newspaper. Okay, have him straight look at the camera and tell us his message with no gray area.
Jalen, Major League Baseball has a new proposal. Keep it moving or hit the brakes.
They're going to play baseball. You and I both know it. Keep it moving.
We keep it moving.
Keep moving.
We keep it moving.
Bad news for the Spurs. Keep it moving or hit the brakes.
LaMarcus Aldridge, he got to get surgery. The Spurs, it's going to be the first time in 20-plus years they didn't make the playoffs. Keep it moving.
We keep it moving.
Keep it moving.
We keep it moving.
Bob Myers of the Warriors said something pretty shocking. Keep moving or hit the brakes.
I got love for him.
Here is what the general manager of the Warriors said. He said, quote, "One of my favorite parts of sports is it's colorblind and a meritocracy of sorts. You don't get judged by how you look. You get judged by how you perform." Now, Jalen, I understand what he's trying to say, but he said it in the wrong way at the wrong time.
I love Bob Myers, and I'm going to hit him up on the text because I got his number in my phone. Let me tell you something, white people. Sports is not a meritocracy. A locker room is not the melting pot that the world needs to copy. I'm tired of these cliches being spouted, Jacoby. There can't be a meritocracy when you own the land, you own the team, you're the president, you're the general manager, you're the head coach, and we're just allowed to play and salary. That's not a meritocracy. We're not picking the roster. We're not picking the backup quarterback. If it was, guess what the 1,300 players in the NFL would have done? They would have gave Colin Kaepernick a job.
You're right. And another GM said he was wrong about one of his stars. We'll tell you who that is right after this in 2 minutes. Welcome back to Jalen and Jacoby. Jalen, Del Morey says he has let James Harden down by not surrounding him with the right players to win a championship. I feel the other way. Do you remember when the Rockets missed 27 straight threes to lose Game 7 against the Warriors? They let Del Morey down. That's how I feel about it. How do you feel?
They've been a top 2 or 3 team in the West the last few seasons. The difference is they ran into the Spurs, they ran into the Warriors. Now they have Russell Westbrook. Let's see if they can make a run in this abbreviated season.
I would love to see them make a championship run inside the bubble in Orlando. Thank you so much for tuning in to Jalen and Jacoby. Do not forget to subscribe to the podcast. Dan Le Batard and Highly Questionable is next.
可爱很随意飘摇，老板给我来碗清牛肉面，喝下回忆吞下寂寞泪好咸，眼泪划过脸颊流进耳朵里，我要忘掉回忆里的伤。